Okay, so data hygiene today, I use the concepts of pro and reactive data hygiene. I actually want us all to work more proactively with our data quality, but currently it's mainly reactively, but we can continue the discussions on proactive data quality management later. And I want to talk to you also about the manual processes of cleaning data as opposed to the semi-automatic ones. I was supposed to do the talk together with my API wizard, David, but he chose to be with his newborn baby instead of coming here. But he'll be happy to hear from you guys afterwards. I know he really wants to share insights. Anyway, I will say 2 words to give you the context. Talk about the manual processes. When are they justified? When are they necessary? Go over to some of our bigger reactive jobs, API-based mainly, and then finally the point we want to get to, the proactive data hygiene, which we of course want to collaborate with Thomas on, make sure that we all get the good data into Pure rather than get bad data that we all have to clean. Anyways, for context, Aarhus University is a fairly big university. We've had Pure for 20 years, which means we've got loads of data. And we import as much data as we can. We get external organizations from SciVal, and we import our organizations. But obviously, over the years, we've had many different data sources. So 2 years ago, I started the project of cleaning up external organizations. We finished last week. Woo! Yes. When I had to submit the presentation a month ago, and I didn't think we'd be able to finish. This is some of our main numbers. The only ones you should look at is the one that says we have 31,000 external organizations, all approved. We used to have 125,000, so it's been a massive cleanup. The other number I want you to look at is the amount of research output. We have around 400,000, adding another 14,000 every year. So just for you to have an idea about the size and the complexity of the data. So when we first started out, the first step, which took a long time, was known as the massive merge. Manual click by click by click by click, merging together all these external organizations. We had over 900 instances of University of Copenhagen, for instance. So obviously, reporting on collaboration was not possible at the time. Now we just have the one instance that we need. What else is relevant here? So let's see. Yeah, one thing that was relevant as a starting point to this project was that we drew a line in the sand. Historically, we said all content before 2020, we had to sacrifice, sort of, deem it less important. So in order to ensure good data quality going forward, we accepted losing a lot of detail. We haven't deleted everything, that's not the way it was, but we have deleted quite a bit. But we still believe that's justified. We were able to finish the project, and now we have the good quality for recent content and future. But why did we do it manually? So why did we do all these clicks? Because everybody who's done that knows it's a very time-consuming process. First of all, we had to. I know that's the case for many of you as well. We did not have the competencies in-house to work with the API at the time. I do not recommend starting that way. If you have the option of using the API at the beginning of your project, do so, please. That being said, excuse me, working manually with your data gives you such an in-depth understanding of the complexity of the data. I've had quite a few people claiming, well, you just have to do some mapping, a few rules, bits, tweaks here and there, and then you can just merge it all together. Well, you can't. So definitely working manually with your data is valuable. And you definitely need to include some sort of intelligence. I would say probably now you could include some artificial intelligence in the process, or a natural one, I don't care, but some sort of intelligence should be in there. It's often the case that you discuss, should we automate or should we not? And of course, rule of thumb is high volumes, high frequency, automate. If it's not too many repetitions, not too much work, do it manually, don't bother to automate. It takes you longer. Another thing I want to advocate that I always recommend to people, if you don't have a data deletion policy in place already, please do get one. Everybody should get that for every system they own, otherwise it's not sustainable. You'll simply accumulate data. Doesn't mean you have to delete everything, but you must have an opinion and you must enforce those above you to have an opinion on this as well. And they have to understand the cost of not having a policy. So our data policy, I was really pleased that we had it approved last year, says pretty much 5 years after termination of an employment, delete all editorial content except for internal publications. And I was so pleased until I found out that we weren't able to implement our policy. Turns out it's actually quite easy. So within Pure, you can find the right people, so the persons that have left the university 5 years ago, and you can find all their content, but they have co-authorships. Yeah, and so you have to make sure that the 200 external publications that a former colleague had, that everybody on those publications has been former for all that time. So that took a lot of time. The first year we did it manually, or at least for some cases. Now we do it through the API. And essentially what we do is we download all the research output, all 400,000, all 60-something thousand persons, and I just have to reiterate filtering in the API, please, so we can actually filter before we download everything. And then the logic is that for each research output, check for each person, if the employment was terminated 5 years ago, and if so, add to the list of content to delete. And this is essentially the same logic we would apply to all content types. We have performed other API-based jobs, mainly one-time jobs, so we removed all sponsors. We deemed that irrelevant data, really. So we have scripts that can do this, and we're happy to share, of course. We also had to remove external organizations from external persons. We're not too happy about that, but it was essential, otherwise we couldn't get rid of all those thousands and thousands of organizations. We did a mass conversion of 100,000 activities. We converted to a different template where external organizations are not mandatory. There was a lot of renaming involved, and that was actually quite simple and works really well. Then we did an API script which actually took the name of the external organization and changed that into text that was put into the title field of the activity, and then subsequently able to remove the organization. So that one was very nice. Last one is one you should only perform with caution. At that stage, that was a few months ago that we performed that job. So at that stage, our data quality was already quite good. We actually said, so we queried all publications prior to 2020, replace all non-approved external organizations with a dummy. We would have deleted if we could, but then there's this issue of internal persons having to have some sort of affiliation, which was really annoying. But this was the way we circumvented that. So we have a dummy, unspecified org, which has been very active. Yeah. But this was wonderful, even though I heard there were some Elsevier apparently supervisors, so the amount of content And apparently that week when we performed this job and the total amount of content in Pure decreased, they could actually tell that we were deleting stuff. I don't know. Anyways, this is, let me just see. Yeah, these are the specs of how the job was performed. Take a picture, contact David afterwards to get it. I won't go through it, I don't have time, sorry. But yeah, what we want to do, instead of all this cleaning, and I mean, we had to. After 20 years, that's just how your Pure installation works, if you haven't done something a bit earlier. But what we want to do, so we have some data out in the real world, we want to clean it and then put it into Pure. We want Elsevier to help us do so, but we have actually done it now for a piece of content that obviously Elsevier, they actually cannot do it for us, so they're excused. That's PhD dissertations. Previously, PhD dissertations were registered manually. It was extremely time consuming, and actually when we did control reports, we found that we only registered about half of the total amount of PhD dissertations going out of our university. So we wanted to improve that. And the way we do it now is that once a month we get a report from the university's PhD admin system. So we get a CSV file containing the data of all conferred degrees. This is validated data. This is the good stuff. So this CSV file contains 4 different entities. It contains a PhD student, it contains a thesis, supervisors, and organizations. And then the challenge is to match that onto Pure content. The PhD student is easy because we actually have the local ID in both systems. So that works. The thesis is easy as well. Supervisors, that's where it gets tricky because we only have names. So they come from the system as text. And you'd be surprised to see how many PhD students don't know how their supervisors' names are spelled. It's amazing. And we've got email addresses. So that's always a bit messy, but we've actually managed to set up matching rules. And I know that every month, David, who performs these scripts, he spends 10 to 15 minutes per month on PhD thesis. That's not much. He has to resolve 3 to 4 cases every month. Other than that, it works. Then we do a check to see if that PhD student already has a thesis registered in Pure. If they do, then we enrich that registration because we don't want to lose the info that's on that registration. Perhaps the actual thesis is on. There are some download stats. We don't want to lose that. So then we just overwrite or enrich. And if there's no such registration, then we create the registration, pre-validated, all is good, all is well. So works wonders. Follow the QR code if you want the code on how to do this. All the different scripts are in